children were weak and hungry, I took you to my bosom, fed you my oil. And even when you took and wasted and left me dry, there was always love for you in my soul. Even when my older children, they tried to shame me, setting no rules for the younger ones, bringing such grief and sadness into my household. In the end, they're still my daughters and sons. I will always be there for you, no matter what you do, whatever joy or pain that you are going through.
All right, people, and of course, we will always be here for you on Nett Radio as we go on the inside with Steve Williams. It's coming to you courtesy of the Foundation for Human Development. They graciously lent Steve to us on a Wednesday, and we have missed Steve for a little bit. I think he was caught up in the carnival action, but he's back on the inside. So, Steve, good morning to you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Yes, I was caught up with the carnival action, but it did not prevent me from doing my work.
Everybody,
So that's important. That is important.
Times don't always match, align themselves together. So I'll blame the timing, but I was ready and willing to go a long time ago.
Yes. But I'm happy that we are here, and now that we're here, well, we can definitely go. So as we enter this particular period, what are we up about today?
Well, there's so many things in my head, but I just want to take it down a little bit today, and I don't want to get into my off comments on the war and Iran and all the various exciting things that people are talking about, and the wonderful, I call it, the energy that you get. I have a daughter who spends, I don't know if she ever does her work, she's a teacher, but every so often I get all these texts and all these messages and all these comments and everything about the war and this is happening and that is happening and so on. So I kept up. People are just, their minds are preoccupied.
Mm-hmm.
Their minds are preoccupied. And then we now have an SOE in Trinidad, more preoccupation again. So everybody's busy.
Yeah.
Everybody's thinking. Everybody has a solution. Everybody has some kind of a proposal. But I want to stay a little bit away from that today, if possible. Because the program is about going on the inside, and it's looking deeper than what we see at the surface level. And you have to ask yourself the questions: how do people get to be who they are? How do they end up being the kinds of sometimes deceitful, disgusting, very difficult people to get along with, and so on? And I met quite a few people over the carnival period like that. And I had to ask myself a question: what is it that brought them to that point? Yesterday, I had the beautiful pleasure of hosting 40 little 10-year-olds here at the foundation, or maybe 9. Some of them look like 9. And they came with their teachers to do what is called a retreat. This is the Lenten period, and they brought them out of the school into the foundation's area here to do a retreat. And I looked at them, and they were the epitome of respect, and they were calling me sir, and oh my God, private school is wonderful, isn't it? They were singing, and I looked at them playing, and it was just fantastic. And I said to myself, how do they move from this to what we see in so many adults today? What would bring people to that point where they lose respect, their values are no longer respectful of others, they speak ill of people, we get into some kinds of behaviors that God knows how these behaviors came about. So I said, it's been on my mind for a little while, so I want to share a little bit about that this morning. I
No
want to share.
problem. Learn
I'm going to
behavior.
share entitlement. Um, you see, because sometimes we always say, okay, it's the poverty and the poverty and the poverty, and people are deprived and so on, and that's why they have to behave and they need money and these kinds of things. But sometimes it's not just about that, because a lot of the deceit and the way we deprive and cheat others, all that comes from a different level of people, a different way. And I looked at it as entitlement. So I'll talk a little bit about entitlement. Some of us become very entitled as we grow up, and especially today, more than long time. I mean, long time there was something called enough, and whatever was done in the home was enough for everybody, and it was made enough. And you grew up with an inner feeling that this is enough. That doesn't happen today, and it's not nobody's fault. I'm not blaming parents. They have a part to play. I'm not even blaming the teachers. I'm looking at the way the way a capitalist society governs itself, and how we are always looking for something more in our lives, and our parents are always trying to give us the best. I haven't heard one parent say, "I don't want to give my child the best." Every parent, "I want to give my child the best. I didn't have so and so. Now she must have it. He must have it. And I see a fury of work being done by parents, long hours in order to give of their best to their children. And so some children, they end up feeling, those who get too much, and they without consequences, without limits, without boundaries, they end up with a certain attitude. And I'm going to share some of these attitudes with you. Um, there's an expectation of parents to shower them with luxuries. It's always an expectation. And they throw tantrums and they behave badly and so on when they don't get what they must get. They have to get a PS5 and I have to get this and I have to get that and so on. And so they grow up with this sense that they have to get it. There's a have to. There's a lack of gratitude. I saw so much gratitude today in so many of the young people, and yesterday the young children passing by. They always were willing to say thank you and so on. But when people are entitled, they don't know the word thank you. It's what you have to give it to me, or else this is mine. I have to get it. There's a disregard of people's needs. Okay, there is an expectation of special treatment. So, and when I'm calling these things out, you could actually picture some people like that. You could actually see some young people growing up like that. They blame other people for their problems. There's no acceptance of your consequences or your issues. Everybody else is at fault. Everybody else is at fault. No time you would say, well, I am the one that created this problem. I've caused it. No. Because you're entitled, everybody else is at fault. You have minimal empathy. You don't know how to empathize with people who are going through a hard time. You say it's their fault. If they had better parents, they wouldn't go through that kind of thing. And if they do so and so, they wouldn't have that problem. It's always somebody else's fault, and you blame people for their situations in life. You have a low tolerance of frustration, and you see it on the road, particularly. There's a very low tolerance for frustration, and a sense of entitlement. I'm right, you see, I'm right. So I can't wait. I can't wait. I have to get where I'm going. They take more of their fair share. If they, you always see them in ways that everybody else must get more than everybody else. They're entitled to more than everybody else. There's this kind of an uppity feeling about life, and this has nothing to do with living necessarily at the level of having a lot of wealth. Wealth is yes, but also very normal, general people with regardless of class or wealth distribution. You know, they perceive minor inconveniences as major personal issues. So a little bit of inconvenience is a huge thing. You ever go somewhere and I go all the time. I go to doctors' offices and so on. And some people they come in and they begin to be very unhappy, very uncomfortable. You meet 20 people there, you must go first. You meet 8 people there, you must go first. You cannot have a sense. Well, wait, I have just come. Other people are before me. No, you have to do it, and that is a sense of entitlement that you feel you're better than others. You feel that you are more deserving than other people. What gives you that right? And that kind of character, that kind of entitlement is what seems to be developing slowly amongst our younger people and therefore creating havoc. No, we talk about crime and we talk about all the kinds of issues. You have any sense what the research says about such entitled people? At the extreme end, too much entitlement leads to criminal behavior. Let me call out the list for you: rape, exploitation, trafficking, theft, con jobs, domestic violence, and even murder. You understand now when I said at the very beginning how we become who we become, how we arrive at this kind of position now, where we are battling to hold back our conatis and so on. And so we enjoy a little bit of freedom. Yes, we do. And we are trying to manage a situation. But everybody, once you are in a spirit, I call it a spirit of entitlement, then you find yourself presuming that you're better than others and also presuming that you can take advantage of others. So everybody is a con artist. Every mechanic, every electrician, every doctor, every lawyer, everybody's trying their best to con you so that you can get more because you feel entitled to more. We have to look at that. We have to look at the inside. We have to understand why it is our people are reaching this point of frustration in their lives. And it's not just because of loss of jobs and so on. That's definitely a part of it. But it's a frustration of entitlement. And it brings a kind of a trauma into people's lives. So when parents are too generous, when they don't have adequate boundaries for their children, when they overprotect, micromanage, when they do all these things and they create problems for their children. So we are breeding, if I could use that word, a whole bunch of young people in our society because we grew up thinking that we didn't have enough. We think our children should have all of it. So long time you would wait till Christmas to get your toy and get whatever it is. Now you're getting it all during the year. And you see it in people who come and they sit and they say, well, I'm not against drugs and marijuana and all that. People do what they have to do and that's their business and that's their problem. But when you become dependent on something, it's because you can't cope. It's because your natural ways of coping, your laughter, your joy, your hobbies, your ability to talk through your issues and so on, when those are exhausted or do not exist, you have to take substances to manage because it's a difficult world. Sure it is. So you choose your substances. And your substances could be alcohol, it could be marijuana, it could be all kinds of drugs and so on. All these things are meant to cope. But you spend your time justifying them. That's what we do. We justify what we do because we think when we justify it, we can prove to one another and to ourselves that there's a reason for doing what we're doing. The fact remains that on the inside, we have to manage and cope. It's not an easy world. Okay? Things are difficult. The growth process is yielding, it's causing problems. So, what about kids who grow up with too little entitlement? So, we have those who grow up with plenty of entitlement. What about those who grow up with little entitlement? Okay, and let's see where that takes us. So, when a person has none, little, not very much entitlement, that person begins to feel like a burden. That person begins to behave in a way, and you've met these people. They don't speak up for themselves. They don't even think about relying on others or being interdependent with others. They sabotage themselves. They feel they shouldn't need anything. They shouldn't ask for anything. They shouldn't want anything. They feel unworthy of good things. They struggle to accept kindness, love, or success. Everything is guilt. They live in guilt. They tolerate mistreatment, you see. And they stay in relationships, whether it's romantic or professional, where they're undervalued because you don't believe you deserve better. This is what happens in a whole host of relationships, and it continues all the time. So you meet all these people who remain victims. They are the ones that are abused all the time. And strange enough, they hook up with people who are abusing. And so you have this dynamic in the relationship of abuser and abused. And that is because the person who is in the victim mode always feels that, nobody ever take me on, nobody ever give me anything. That's the language. Nobody ever give me anything. Nobody ever feel I am worthy. Okay, everybody is more important. And so they come into the world, or they develop themselves in the world with this sense of, well, I didn't get, so I will take what I can take from others. And so we develop another criminal base, and you hear them talking about we poor people, and the poor people ain't had nothing, the poor people can't get nothing, and a kind of an attitude of not being entitled to anything. And they rise 100% to a sense of creating entitlement now, you see. Because I grew up not being entitled at all, I have to create it. So now they become the ones who are out there and the ones who are creating havoc. It's mine. I have to take it. They create robberies. They look for the gold chain and the gold teeth and the gold this and the gold that and all these gold things to give them a sense of importance, a sense of visual entitlement, you see. Because it's not just on the inside, it's on the outside. And that sense of importance must come from the society must tell me I'm important. But when society does not tell me I'm important, I have to show them that I am. And I show them through the things that I have. And that is where we run into the different kinds of issues of people kind of creating and developing crime and criminality all along the way. I am so because I never had. And I think I am entitled to it. I'm entitled, it is mine. You can have and I cannot have. Excuse me. And that is a conversation that carries itself all the time. So when people live between these two extreme ends, those who are very entitled, overly entitled, they get what they want. Their parents guarantee them a life, so they don't even know what it is not to have. And I'm not talking about where they don't know what to have, because parents, even when they don't have, they make sure they give it to their children. They say, I didn't eat for days, but I make sure my child ate. Wonderful, nice, brilliant. Okay, nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, nobody's taught balance. Nobody's taught that some days you will have to go without, and some days we all have to share together, and some days we have to eat a little less. Nobody's taught that. We're all taught that we must be entitled to it and we must have it all the time, and that produces one kind of criminal, and then the other is the one that, and I'm not talking about criminals, those who are caught and convicted. I'm talking about all of us who do all these underhand things to survive and to get more money so that we could either prove our worth, prove our value, prove our sense of well-being. It's always a proving. It's always a proving. And that is where we run into the difficulty. So when we can now begin to adjust that, when we can begin to tell people you're okay, you're good as you are, when every little boy can mount the stage and be told he is worthy, and he's clapped and he's given a sense of esteem and well-being, that means that he no longer feels the desire to create havoc on others because he has it within himself. And so when we fail to do that, you think we think the answer lies in building basketball courts and swimming pools and so on. Those are not the answers. They could never be the answers. The answer is about the inner self. The answer is about the worthiness of the individual, the value of the individual. How do I feel about myself? And I dare to say that a lot of us don't feel good about ourselves, either those who are too entitled and those who are less entitled. Let me stop at this point.
Very interesting, Steve. So people give us a call, 2811 or 299 You've been listening to what Steve has been talking about. And this is where you can get in on the show. So give us a call, 299 or 2811 Yeah. So I guess at the end of it all, Steve, it all depends on what we put in. It's what we are going to
That's right. That's right. And I feel strongly that if we have to save this nation, I'd like to use those words because I always ask, save from what? But if we are to help people develop better, in a sense, I think the effort lies in putting the money and the resources in education and in building values in the children. Because when I saw those children yesterday, I had a lot of hope, a
yeah.
tremendous amount of hope.
Yeah, and that is all right because sometimes you reach that point where you feel that the- we are totally lost, but things like that really inspire you, and sometimes
Mhm.
it's just a little spark you need to pick you
Yeah,
up to go again.
yeah.
Yeah,
And it's done in individuals. It's done in you and me and the teachers, especially the teachers. I would invest a lot in the teachers. Um, Especially the teachers who influence these children on a daily basis with their comments,
yeah,
their encouragement, their lack of it. I think that's where it's at. I don't know. I could be wrong. I know we have to hold back people from the crime and so on, but if you're looking long term, I know politicians can't look long term because they're looking at getting back into power. But if you really look long term down the road, you would see that it lies in the preschools and so on. I'm talking to a gentleman today, and he's telling me he has a 3.5-year-old, a 4-year-old grandson, and the parents can't afford to pay this $1,300 a month or for $1,200 a month to pay for the preschool. So I said, but there are government preschools all over the place. I think so. He said, no, there's none in St. James. I said, and then I started to think and look. And I'm saying, you know what? A lot of the issue, I remember Serval and Jerry Panton started that. And he made that very clear that the way to reform is through starting at the preschool levels and working with those children.
yeah.
And I remember him devoting a lot of energy and time into that, and people going up the hill, and we don't talk that kind of language anymore. We're talking about anyhow. Let me don't go to that.
Let let's take a call there. Captain Ron, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning. How do you hear me?
We're here. Yeah, okay, good. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, we went. Yes.
Morning to the gentleman there. I can't remember his name.
Steve Williams.
Steve Williams.
Yes,
Yes.
this is Steve Williams. Yes, sir. I always make my business to listen to you when I have time. And, these days, I have more time than I needed.
All right, that's good for two of us.
Retirement.
Yes, correct. It's nice to hear you talk about this because 3 days of every month, I'm a counselor in the prison in Orlando.
Wow.
And I speak with people. I try not to get involved in what they're there for, but I have this. God has blessed me something that I can talk with them to help them get their head going in the right direction and put their life back together.
Right.
So, and many of them have said the same thing. It's because of the way they grew up and what they've been told, and the way they were led to behave, and some of them felt nobody did anything for them. And I want to open your eyes on something. It's not just what I realize, and it's not just them, people, the ordinary person. It goes all the way up to the upper echelons in society, where they feel they must have more and they're entitled to everything. Look at what's going on in the world right now with countries behaving the same way.
Yes.
So all of these are what young people are looking at. Well, if America could come and do this and take this one and take that one out and do whatever they want, then I'm entitled to it too.
Yes, correct. Oh, yep, that's it. I didn't want to walk down that road, but you have gone down that road. Excellent.
That's right. It's something in society. But I grew up in Trinidad. I grew up in Mova, actually. I went to Aranguez, USAC. That's why I met Sir Charles. Then I went to Malik Comprehensive and we left Trinidad after that. But the thing is, we were taught that balance, what you mentioned there, to have and not to have, and time is going to be light, time you have to share, things like that, time they have to do without. And it worked, it paid off. And I have sons, and I understand, I can pass it on to them, So it's something that each parent needs to do to their children. And so we can use what I do. I have grandkids now. I use what's going on in the country right now with this world, and the way the guy who's leading this country and how he's behaving, his attitude. If you develop that kind of attitude, you will end up like this. So that's just it. But it's all around. It's all over society, but we just have to catch it early.
Yes.
So true. Thanks very much, Captain Ron.
Yes, have a good day.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's all over, and that is where when we started, I was saying, you look at the little ones, and you ask the question, where is it that we can start at this point and end up so extreme? Yes. And
Extreme.
It's all learned behavior. It's what they're seeing. It's what society is projecting outside there.
Yes, I agree 100%. These little ones will be going to Presentation College. They'll be going to Holy Name Convent. They will be going to all the different kinds of schools. They may even be going to private schools and all. And yet, somehow they turn. They turn from the genuine innocent, and nobody remains innocent all their lives, but they turn from a sort of a genuine valued position that I am important and you are important also. That position to I have it, I should take everything from you. They are two different worlds altogether.
That is so true. Different words. Junior, good morning.
Yes, good morning again, Sir Charles. Good morning, Mr. Steve.
Morning.
Nice. Mr. Steve, well, so I like some of the I like a solution to the problem that you would have highlighted where you're talking about start in the preschool.
Yep,
Right?
that's me.
That is good, right? Now again, and that'll be and now you're talking about I think you're talking about a problem that is complex,
Yes,
right?
it is.
So we live in a world. You're talking about long ago where people they would be successful, but it was a way to get out of poverty.
Right.
Compared to a time that we are living in, that is that you that now you are to be successful at any cost,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because again, as I rightfully put it, right, something wrong with the person that lack, and something with the person that lack entitlement, and then something with the person that over entitled because of the field. Because again, I hear what I say. To bring it into perspective and to understand, because even I'm listening to you and I'm saying yes,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Steve, that is true, right? But it seems like we live in our, because you're even talking about you start with the young ones, right?
Yeah.
Right? But you're going to start with the young ones, and they are going to come into a world that if they are not strong enough, right, is either if you can't beat them, you
Join them.
join them,
Correct.
right? And that is the society that we live in today, right? Yeah, again, now you're saying that people feel that they are entitled. Isn't so let me strike a balance, and I'm gonna ask you this, right? So, and are using the government, not per se attacking some government, but to bring a point to into an example, right?
Mm-hmm.
I put our government in place,
Right.
right? I put our government in place. We have a minister of national security. We have where we would have put our government in place. Taxpayers' money is paying our government, right, to see
Mm-hmm.
about security within the country, right?
Right.
I would have a legitimate expectation or entitlement that
Mm-hmm.
the national security or the different people that I put in place, right, is
Mm-hmm.
going to protect me,
Yes, that's
right?
correct.
So, so am I being wrong, an individual as citizen, feeling entitled to the national security apparatus and the government, right, which we are paying, right? I think I have the right to feel entitled for that. Now, again, not to go overboard, right? But that is a legitimate entitlement.
It is a healthy entitlement.
It's
It's
a
a healthy entitlement. It's very
right.
legitimate. But then you have unhealthy entitlement.
Right. So because you're talking right. So the unhealthy entitlement now is where we will trample again. Where someone trample on other people,
Yes.
regardless of how that person feel. You might try to, because I
Yes.
mean I'm such as a Mr. C. Let me tell you a quick joke before I go. I was up
Mm-hmm.
in Arima evening, and I was by a particular place. It had
Mm-hmm.
a gentleman, right? He was obese, right? And then other
Mm-hmm.
gentleman came to purchase from the gentleman, and for them obese, okay, with the problem. But he now start to make fun of the person that come to buy, and are saying, but why? And I love to observe people. I could have
Right.
said he just took on that person to
Mm-hmm.
kind of let people not focus on him,
Uh-huh.
right? So you
Uh-huh.
make fun in terms of, but again, now I hear we're saying, and it is truth, but again, how do we solve some of these complex problems? Because again, now, and that is the stem are some of the problem in the country by extension that we face today. So, just on Mr. Steve, good one.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Thanks very much. Yeah. Very good observation there because people actually do
Yeah.
that. Yeah, people
Yes.
and yeah, but that is what it is. But see, that's where we can leave it for today.
You
So
can leave
thank
it for
you
today.
so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Tell people how do they can get in contact with you on the
Yes.
foundation.
The foundation has a building, and we are at 36 Cascade Road, Cascade. That's our residence. You can get us online with via our email address, which is called foundationhd@gmail.com, or you may WhatsApp us at 4826500.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you very much, Steve, and
Okay.
have a great day. Have a great week
Yeah.
until we
Same
talk
to
again
you.
right here on the frequency. Yeah.
And God willing, we return next week. Yes.
All right. Okay, people, this
Okay.
has been On the Inside with Steve Williams right here on Net Radio Near TT Radio. Stay with us.
I took you to my bosom, fed you my oil. And even when you took and wasted and left me drained, there was always love for you in my soul. Even when my older children, they tried to shame me, setting no rules for the younger ones, bringing such grief and sadness into